if there's a specific opportunity or situation where there's a conflict, why don't you take note of how you are responding? And it would allow Trisha to really understand, do I like how I'm responding to conflicts? Because that could go both ways, right? I'm perfectly fine with how I respond to conflicts. Then she comes back to the coaching session like, I've had two conflicts and I was perfectly fine with it. My week went normal and it was all good. Or a point of coaching again would be, you know what? I had these two conflict situations and I really didn't like what happened. And then we could explore that and maybe utilize her strengths again to see where this maybe this content or challenge would be coming from. But more than anything, just making Trisha more mindful again in this kinds of situation that kind of causes her to feel maybe about the harmony or maybe even about the consistency, right?
I'll make it as a coach, light the spark inside, empower every soul to turn the tide. I'll make it as a coach, help others grow, changing lives with every story I know.
Welcome to another episode of The Impactful Coach. And as I am recording this introduction to the episode, I am just back from the MetaFox Inner Journey, our coach training program, which I facilitated in Singapore. And having been in Southeast Asia and also having a few Filipino participants there, I again realized that a huge methodology over there is strengths coaching. The CliftonStrengths seems to be the default tool for many coaches, and also for me personally, Strengths has been one of the most impactful methodologies as a client, as a coach, as a human being. So today we bring all of this together. We are running a live coaching demo using the Clifton Strengths Finder with Val Baguios III, a Filipino coach, and as a client, today you'll not hear from me, but from Trisha, the COO of MetaFox. She has taken the Clifton Strengths Finder and also brings a personal topic to the session, her need for harmony that sometimes shows up as conflict avoidance. After the demo, I debriefed the session a bit with Val and Trisha, but as I was also in the pure observer seat this time, I'm also trying a new format. Now, when listening to the recording, I hopped in here and there to underline and point out a few of Val's methods that he has been using. So I hope this turns this episode into a fun educational reaction video, and I'm super curious to get your feedback on this new format. But to get started, let's hear a bit from Coach Val, who he is and how he got into strengths coaching.
Well, again, thank you, Toby, for having me here. Really excited to do this demo coaching. It was really out of my curiosity that I stumbled upon strengths coaching. It was a conversation between two of my friends talking about strengths. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? What is this top 5 thing? And they shared with me strengths. And from then on, it opened my eyes into possible career path for me. I came from a very technical background. I am an engineering graduate, but I realized that something in my strengths is pulling me into people development. During the time, of course, I don't know what specifically. There are a lot of things that I can do under people development. And, as they say, the rest is history.
And that history, I think we also talked about this in our pre-chat yesterday. That history started already in 2011, I believe you mentioned, 15 years ago for you, right?
Yeah, I took the test 2011, and yeah, here I am up until now doing strengths coaching.
And if you look at your coaching practice today, who is a typical client of yours and how do you usually help them?
Typical clients that I coach would be people managers. I would say around topics about them managing their teams it has evolved quite recently to small and medium business owners here in the Philippines. I realized that they are also wearing the manager hat most of the time. So they are actually experiencing the same pain as the managers of the bigger organizations. Because if you are a small and medium scale business, you are the general manager as well, right? So that's what I'm realizing. And I realize, it's interesting to help these business owners. And from then on, it really created a new dimension on the people I coach. Yeah, those are the leaders that I coach here in the Philippines.
And if I'm now one of these typical clients of yours, I'm a manager at an SME, you said, what would be a typical challenge I approach you with? Or what's the first thing that comes up in these conversations?
I always joke around that if you are having headaches with your people, then I think I can help you. So that's the umbrella symptom, if you may. Another thing is understanding their leadership style. It's very interesting how many of my clients actually have this challenge where they would look at a certain role model leader in their network, or maybe someone that they've read about, or somebody they've watched somewhere, and they feel discouraged because they compare themselves to that leader and they say, I'm not like that leader. How can I lead my team? How can I be a successful business owner if I'm not as extroverted as that guy that I'm looking at? And strengths allows us to have conversation about where they're really good at. And I remind them that you can be the best leader you can be using your own strengths. So around those areas, and of course, people management, accountability, building, even coaching their team members. So a lot of those topics as well.
And yeah, you mentioned you came in touch with the Clifton Strengths as a client yourself in 2011. Since then, you took an organizational psychology degree. I imagine today your box of methods, coaching approaches, and tools is quite full. So I'm wondering, when is it and what is the situation that you say, oh, this is now a great case to actually use the Clifton Strengths and bring them out here with my client?
I would always bring it up. In fact, that's part of, I'd say, the requirement whenever I do one-on-one coaching. And so when we're looking at certain behaviors, we can call it as how Clifton Strengths would call it. And it's easy for us to talk about it, right? So it really helps me. It's a requirement.
Super interesting. Yeah. So if I'm pulling a few strings that you mentioned together, it's a classical challenge is often finding my own style as a leader and understanding who am I as a leader, maybe compared to that role model leader that I'm looking up to, that I watch. And in order to help clients find a language for what they are strong at, you are using strengths.
Absolutely. That's where it becomes really helpful.
Great. Cool. And in order to make this super hands-on on the Impactful Coach, we usually try to really get into the weeds, get into the nitty-gritty. And that's also what we will do today. So I'm super happy to welcome Trisha to the conversation. And I think Trisha is in many ways probably a typical client of yours. She is a Filipino as well. She is a leader at a small business, for sure, also evolving her own leadership style. So I think that's a great match for us to run a small demo. And in order to get us started here, how about you introduce yourself a bit, Trisha? What makes you curious about strengths?
Hi, Coach Val. Hi, Toby. Nice to meet you both. I work as an integrator with MetaFox, so I oversee different functions of the business, also collaborating with different people in different departments. I also provide the space for the leaders in our organization. And what makes me curious about strengths? I think it's because I always have strengths and weaknesses kind of go together, but at the same time, I have coaches saying how there's just underutilized strengths. So that is one area of learning that I wanted to have. So yeah, I wanted to know how to tap into it more, and also with me having taken the Clifton Strengths survey, there are also some results that I'm unsure with. So definitely some results that I'm surprised that I had.
Yeah, awesome. And just to give this a frame, so you are the COO at MetaFox, and there you also basically help people grow. We are an organization of 12, I think, right now. And there you are also facilitating our leadership team meeting and other meetings in general, being the go to person for all
Yes.
kinds of leadership.
And to add
Um,
to that, actually, I only started with the role last year, so I only had the leadership role for over a year now. So I'm pretty new with the leadership stuff and
Congratulations on
challenges.
that.
Thank you.
yeah, cool. And here I maybe just leave it to you and you can hop into the strengths report debrief and the coaching conversation as you would usually do.
Will you share, Trisha, your report?
Yes, sure.
Okay,
So here's my top five strengths reports.
perfect. You have achiever, consistency, harmony, focus, responsibility in your top five.
Yes.
Okay, let's do a little bit of debrief first on your report. How did you find the Clifton Strengths test?
It was fairly easy. I was surprised that it has 200 items, but the questions were really easy. But at the same time, there were specific questions I'm unsure of. You have this scale, right, with two statements, and you have to choose which one resonates more with you.
Yeah, perfect. Don't worry about it because the test itself is, I think it's robust enough that whatever you do, if you answer in the middle, takes note of it, and it actually is something that they consider as well at the back end. Your results, your top five results, how do you feel about it in terms of you being connected to it? Were you surprised about it? Can you tell me more about it?
Well, I was not surprised being more on the executing
Mm,
category because it has always I'm always aware that is where my strength lies, and also most of my colleagues will also feedback me with regards of those areas. So definitely not surprised on the one, two, and four and five. What surprised me most would probably be the top three, the harmony. I think I always had a problem with handling relationships, and having this specific relationship category as part of my top five strengths really surprised me. Although I think it does make sense in some areas, but
yeah.
at the same time, not really utilized.
Interesting. Now you mentioned two areas you can relate that you are more on the executing. And so what we see here is that your report is composed of like four of your top five is actually purple, which is executing. And one of it, harmony, is relationship building. And you mentioned, Trisha, that you've received feedback from your team members before about being really good at executing. What are some of those feedback that you received?
Yeah, for MetaFox, we actually have this feedback culture, so also quite appreciated with each other's strengths. So some of the feedback that I always will have is how reliable I am, and how I can take ownership, and how I am dependable in the team. So those are the usual feedbacks that I get.
Where would you connect those feedback perhaps in any of your top five?
I would say responsibility and also consistency.
Responsibility and consistency. Have you read your report on consistency and responsibility? Have you
Yes.
browsed it? And maybe even in your own words, what does consistency mean for you and maybe responsibility?
Yes. Actually, I had a different idea of what consistency is. So for me, consistency is just being able to deliver. I guess that falls more on the achiever side and not on consistency. So here it's focused actually on how I maintain balance and how I value fairness.
Wow. So consistency means balance and fairness. At least that's what the report said. And you agreed to it, right?
Yes.
That's something that you can relate to. What about responsibility?
For responsibility, let's go here. So, as I already also shared with the feedback, it's about taking
Taking ownership.
ownership and following
Mhm.
through.
And it says there you're organized, you're reliable, you're dependable, and you're efficient.
Yes.
Those are really good words to have if you are a leader. You mentioned earlier also that you weren't expecting consistency to mean that way.
Hmm.
You might have other, maybe a dictionary idea of the word consistency, right? You'll have the same paragraph. That's because I don't know if you felt this as well while you were reading. Your consistency would be influenced by your achiever, by your harmony, by your focus, by your responsibility. Your responsibility will be influenced by your achiever. It kind of have all these hints of flavors, right? So it would mix and match your Clifton Strengths themes. So yeah, so that's why I think your report is a very unique definition of how this five manifests in your life, maybe in your work as well. That's very important because that's what I share with some leaders as well. And it's really important that your voice is heard, and in effect, the voices of other people is heard as well. Because even though you may seem to have the same top five Clifton strengths or personalities, if you may, they would always look at situations, problems, challenges, projects in a very different light or perspective. Yeah. You also mentioned that harmony is something that surprised you. Can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, as I shared, I think one of my, not sure if I can call them weaknesses, is relationship building. So
Sure.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't really call it a strength of mine. So it was such a surprise to have this one part as my top five. I could probably accept it if it's not top five at least, but it's even top three. So that's surprising.
It
And
is
also,
toxic.
when gathering feedback from other team members, I also didn't receive feedback wise. So it's really focusing on executions most of the time.
You said that you felt like relationships or relationship building maybe is, you feel it's a weakness of yours. Where are you coming from with that thought?
I think it's also because of my strength and on focus, because I tend to really focus on things and think realistically. I would often focus on the task than the people. So that's
And
also one thing.
gotcha. Okay. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay. So you feel like you tend to focus more on the tasks at hand rather than the people, anything that comes with people, like their emotions and all of these things. But yeah, harmony's there. So far, how do you understand harmony so far, based on what you've read?
For harmony, I think it's also about coming into agreement with everyone and also about inclusion.
In agreement with everyone and inclusion. Perfect. Perfect. Right. So I guess that's a good rundown of what you have in your top five. Definitely, we will talk about that more as we go along in our conversation. But to make sure that this, I guess we have around 20 minutes more in our conversation. How would this be very helpful for you? What might be something that you want to talk about and relate back to your strengths, I guess?
Since it's my first time having this harmony strength, made me aware that maybe it's something that I can tap more of. And also because I also have, as you can see, I highlighted this on as pink, like steering clear of debate. So I think that's has been one of my challenges as a leader. So for us, we actually value productive conflict, but at the same time, I
Gotcha.
would not personally want to participate in something that would clash with others. So I think this strength of mine also hinders me in voicing out my side of things and also for making better decisions.
Right, right. Gotcha. And if there's one thing that you want to take out of this conversation that would make you say that, hey, that was valuable. That was a good coaching conversation. What would it be in your head right now?
Well, for a coaching session, I always expect it to surprise me. So something that do not know personally.
Okay.
So also a next step and hopefully something that I can integrate with my daily life.
Something that you can integrate with your daily life. I'm guessing this is about your strengths.
Yes.
Something about strengths that you can integrate with your daily life. Perfect, perfect. Okay, then maybe we can jump on that route to begin with.
Anything specific? Let me check.
Is it about any of your top five strengths that you wanna explore more, that you wanna know more about?
I think it would be nice to have this clear, the consistency part, aside from the harmony part, of course.
So maybe
I
consistency and harmony.
Yeah, because as I may have the dictionary definition of consistency, which is not in line with how Clifton defines it.
Actually, you are right. If we are looking at this highlights of yours, and it's good that you highlighted these areas where you see these purple rectangles. These are the parts of your report that is very unique to you. The things above, it says there what is consistency, and you highlighted some of the words or phrases as well. Those are generic descriptions of consistency. But the ones under the rectangles, the colored rectangles, these are unique to you personally, right? So these are things that other people who has consistency might not have. Generally, you are right. Consistency is about balance and fairness. Can you share to me anything that you can really resonate with the things that you highlighted here? We can begin at the part where it says approach things realistically. Can you tell me more about this?
I I've always been a realistic thinker. Like I view things there's two ends of the spectrum, right? Like realistics and idealist. So I have often described myself as a realist and often go with realistic assumptions, set realistic goals, those kinds of stuff. And yeah, I think I can resonate with it perfectly.
And there it goes again in the second paragraph, actually, practical and realistic thinker. And how has being a realist helped you so far in your life, maybe in your role as a leader? What do you think about that?
I think it shows with how I as a leader because I tend to focus on realistic steps and also some not the kind that is quite innovative. So
Can
that's
you remember anything that maybe a situation where you are thankful that you are a realist?
that is quite difficult. I think I just apply it very normally in my life that I don't even know if I'm applying it, that kind of stuff.
Oh, you have this thing about strengths that it's like asking the fish about the water. If you ask the fish, how's the water? And the fish would tell you, what water? Right? But to us who is looking from the outside in, it's very obvious. But to them, because they lived with it their entire life, it's so natural to them. For example, setting goals. Are you setting goals for the team, for yourself? Do you do that?
Yes,
Right.
mostly
Um,
for my
mhm.
personal life.
Oh, perfect. There you go. How do you think you being a realist is manifesting when you set the goals?
I think it really shows because I only set goals that can be accomplished within a year. So actually by end of year I have this habit to organize what my next year would look like, what do I want to achieve.
Wow, perfect. And how would being a realist be looking in terms of you setting your goals? Or have you compared your goals with other people as well? Have you ever done that?
No, I believe like people will always have different goals, and I'm not
Yeah,
really a fan of comparing with others.
sure.
So I just want to be realistic in terms of like my resources and what can I do. So for example, for each month I only set one goal because having one more than one might just lead to burnout.
See, there you go. Your likelihood to create goals is definitely could be connected to your achiever, but you're being realistic about those goals, both in the timelines. You mentioned that I set goals, 1 year goals, because that's the, I guess, the span of time that the resources, things can be a bit predictable on your part. I kind of sense the chosen timeline for you because that's fairly realistic. And I noticed also that you said that I just set one goal because that would help me. If I set more than one goal in a month, that could lead to burnout. And you know what I also sense there? Focus.
Hey, really quick, this is production Toby coming in on a meta level. And what I want to point out to you is Val's coaching technique here. We can call this strengths spotting, which is he's listening to Trisha and inside her stories names strengths as she's describing them. Like focus when she is talking about setting only one goal per month, or achiever when she organizes her year ahead. This can be a powerful coaching technique to help clients to be more aware when their behaviors are helpful. Back to the conversation.
That's strong focus there as well. So that's a combination of your consistency, focus, achiever. And how has that helped you? You setting goals in a 12-month period only, and you setting goals like I guess one goal only per month. How has that helped you?
It helped me become more motivated because I also tried not having it for a year and it didn't really felt right. I didn't felt like I did anything for a year, so it was nice to have this overview of what I did and what I'm planning to do so I can also go through every month with the idea that something actually happened, something progressed.
Perfect. It gives you a sense of progression in your life, but you also know that it's not as it's basically realistic. It's something that you can achieve, but it creates direction, right? So does consistency make sense? Do you have anything that you want to clarify in the consistency theme?
No, I think that's good enough. Right now, I have this like idea of consistency being equal to realistic approaches.
Exactly. Exactly. So for you, consistency, whatever it is, whatever it was that you consistency was the meaning of consistency for you earlier, now you can connect it to me. Consistency is being realistic. Just a curiosity though, does your consistency brought about any negative effects on you? Maybe.
I would say so. With regards to having a realistic mindset and just setting goals for a year, sometimes I tend to just not look on a broader overview. So,
Longer timelines, maybe.
yes, those
Right.
one.
How do you manage that? Do you even bother, or are you like, no, I'm perfectly fine with 1 year anyway, so I'm okay with that? What do you
I,
think?
yeah, right now I don't want to make it as a problem. So I would just stick with the 1 year to not have anything bothering me.
Exactly. Right. I know maybe you're coming from somewhere when you said you're not used to setting goals with the more broader timeline or more longer timeline than 1 year. Have you seen anyone, maybe anyone you know who sets longer term goals, perhaps?
I guess my brother, because
Hmm.
he is really ambitious.
Okay.
So he would have like large goals that he would pursue in, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
5, 10 years.
Mm-hmm. How is that working out for him?
I think it's working out good for him because he already
Perfect.
achieved some of his long term goals.
The reason why I opened that up, because you have to understand, when you call something a weakness, it normally is, it's something that is getting in the way of your success,
Mhm.
or something that's getting in the way of what is expected of you, or maybe what you are expecting of yourself. Notice that I ask you that, did you have any problems with your own timeline, which is 12 months or 1 year? And you said, no, I'm perfectly fine with 1 year. So therefore, consistency couldn't be in that aspect, actually, at least in the goal setting part, couldn't be considered as a weakness, because you don't feel like you need to, or nobody's expecting you that you have to set more than 1 year. If it creates for you, if it creates direction, if it makes me feel that I have progress in my life, then that's perfectly fine. That's a goal for me, right? So if my brother sets, I don't know, 5 year goal, then good for him then. So that's something else. That's probably a different, maybe, theme coming up for him, but for you it's perfectly fine. Let's jump quickly to harmony. For example, do you have harmony? Can you have harmony in the screen, please?
Yes.
There you go. Is there anything in harmony, maybe anything that you highlighted, or maybe something that you did not highlight even, that you wanna do a deep dive on, and how it manifests in your life?
Yes, I would zoom in on how little is gained from conflict. So I also believed in that. And at the same time, it steers me away, as you can see here, it steers me away from debate.
Mhm.
So basically, I think it's not a healthy approach to conflict. It's in at the type where I want to avoid conflict, and I don't think that is the healthy approach to a situation.
Again, meta level Toby with a small nugget from strength psychology. Where Val and Trisha have arrived now in the coaching conversation is the overuse of Trisha's harmony strength. So it's the same strength that, for example, helps Trisha to keep a team meeting constructive, that can also be overused and tip into that conflict avoidance that they are exploring here now.
Do you feel that? Can you confirm that you have a general tendency to avoid conflict?
Yes.
And where are you coming from with that? Avoiding conflict.
I just don't see much use on debating with someone, especially
Interesting.
if I don't have strong feelings about it, and also if someone is having this resistance
Hmm.
to having resolve the conflict.
So, in your mind, why engage in conflicts or debates? Number one, do I even have a strong feeling about the topic? Number two, is there anything healthy or worthwhile that we can get out of this? If none, then why engage? But at the same time, you were telling me earlier, I think that's not a healthy view of conflict. Where is that coming from, though?
Because I always wanted to have a healthy communication with other people, and I think communication comes with two-way conversations with everyone, even when in conflict.
Have you ever done two-way conversations with anyone who perhaps has a different idea than yours? Have you ever done that? Maybe in your
Yes,
team?
yes.
How does that go?
It was also a situation that those are the kinds of situations I'm not a fan of, because as for example, for our leadership meetings, we will also of course tackle some topics. There will be times that of course there will be different kinds of perspectives, but
Huh?
someone will always have to go down
What do you mean? Will someone always have to go down? You
to
mean give
back.
way? Give
Yes,
way. Would that be you all the time, or?
I would rather it be me. Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Yeah, yeah.
think
Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
that's one issue, but at the same time I'm also looking for to call it, I'm not sure if it's also part of harmony about having a consensus. So when people share the same idea, I tend to also just go with that.
Right. Consensus.
Yeah.
Right. Right. It's like majority wins. Let me just go back to that example where people might have very different ideas than yours. My first question is, would in those situations are you able to express your idea, put it on the table, so to speak?
I
Right.
always make sure to voice out my opinion.
There you go. And normally you would feel the inclination that I voiced out my idea. I'm ready to give way if anything has a better idea,
Yeah.
right? And how do you normally, in your experience, how does the team normally decide on what is better?
Well, at first, how I approach it is just go with the decision where everyone feels comfortable. And also, I ask for feedback to other team members, like our
Okay.
co-founders, Max and Toby.
Okay. You get their feedback as well.
Yes, more
And
input on the decision.
then whatever seems to be the majority's preference or the ideas that might be more beneficial for the more people, that's
Yes.
what you go for. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing here is that Trisha, you seem to be a leader that is your approach to conflict or conflicting ideas is very democratic. Does that make sense? Democratic in a sense that, I'm gonna hear everyone out, and whatever it is that is a general consensus of everyone, we're gonna go with that.
Yes, that is my approach. But I also had this feedback that we are not running a democracy,
What do you mean by that?
that I also can go with an idea that doesn't go with most of the people.
Uh-huh.
So,
And when you do that, why so? Where's that coming from?
someone just gave me this advice, our co-founder specifically.
Okay.
So I already shared with him this also struggle of mine. So at the
Mhm,
same time, he assured me that we are not running a democracy. So I can also go against the
mhm,
agreement. So yeah, that is something that I have not touched upon because I'm still more comfortable with having this democracy thing going on.
mhm, mhm. Right. So, going against another person's idea is something that you're struggling with. Is that what you're saying? Right?
Yes.
Right. And when you say go against, what does that look like for you tangibly?
Just generally having a different idea or perspective on things.
Mm-hmm.
I think for our specifically for our leadership team, it's normal to also suggest different kinds of ideas and approaches which we can
Mm-hmm.
test out. But I think this also ties with the consistency, the realist part in me that some or most of these new approaches will not work out. And it's a bit hard for me to actually navigate that kind of conversation.
So meaning to say you would rather stick to some ideas that would be realistic, something that would be that I think this idea is achievable and something that maybe has been proven already, perhaps something that is consensual, meaning everyone agrees to it already. So that's something realistic too,
Mhm.
right? So I guess the challenge here is that what if I want to have a really weird out of this world idea? How do I get that? Right? I think that's something that you're coming from. And my question is, how have you ever experienced a really maybe even weird idea ever in your life? Maybe in school, maybe at work. Have you ever experienced opening an idea that is quite different?
No, I go with the norm. I don't usually go with into weird ideas. So, yeah, I've never seen myself having a weird idea.
And how is that playing out for you? Do you like that part of you? Do you wish
Yes,
it's something else?
I
What do you think?
embrace who I am. So,
Mhm.
if it's not me, I accept it. Like other people can have weird ideas, but it's just not me.
There you go. There you go.
This moment with Trisha and Val really shows to me what strengths work is really about. finding out what qualities I as a client have and really embracing them. Finding my combination, my strengths fingerprint, and becoming clear on this is me, just like Trisha does in this moment.
I think Trisha, that's powerful, embracing that other people might have other ideas, weird ideas, out of this world, innovative ideas, but maybe that might not come from me. Now, I know that sometimes, as you mentioned, there are opportunities where maybe the organization or maybe the team might need an innovative idea, something groundbreaking, something that would rock the boat, right? So to speak. How would you do that then?
You mean when someone is giving an innovative idea?
No, when the team needs an innovative idea, how would the team get that innovative idea?
Yeah, that has always been one of my challenges because it will not come from me.
And where would it come from?
I would count on my colleagues or team members. I also have this trust on them, and I think we also have different sets of skills that we can benefit from each other.
That makes sense. And how would I would count on my other team members? How would that look like in practice?
I always ask for their input.
There you go. I think one of the most powerful aspects of Clifton Strengths, and in fact, we call it a guiding principle in strengths,
Mhm.
that number one, differences is an advantage. Like different people in a team is actually a good thing. And different is maybe you is different in a sense that, I'm more of a going with the flow kind of person, stick to where it's safe and proven and realistic, pragmatic, and all of these things. And some people in the team I would just surprise you of my ideas. In Clifton Strengths, we always look at the teams normally.
Mhm.
This is actually a tool that is being used for teams, a group of people wanting to have a certain goal, right? Because it is not possible for one person to have it all. And I think that's what you just said, that there are times that I can do these things for my team, but there are times, even as a leader, that I would rely on my other team members to speak up, and maybe that's where innovation will come. Maybe that's where this energizing new weird idea would come. And I think that as a leader that is maybe trying to facilitate these ideas, the goal is to create that space so that those weird ideas will come out. And I think that's what you've been doing. And I think if you do it more intentionally, that would be helpful.
Meta level Toby here again, and I would like to underline Val's words here because he's not asking Trisha to become more innovative, trying to coach her to become this innovative leader, but instead he's encouraging her to embrace what she has discovered and delegate this weakness that she has identified of being innovative simply to other team members. So instead of saying, I want to become well rounded, I want to work on my weakness of being not so innovative, instead saying, I wear this weakness with pride and now I delegate to other team members for this.
How was this so far, Trisha? What's becoming clear for you in terms of understanding your strengths so far?
Well, it's now much clearer. I think now I do have an idea, and it's much more similar with how I actually go through my work or day. I was expecting to have new ways, but it's more like accepting myself and not changing something.
I love it. I love it. And Clifton Strengths is all about embracing and loving your ways more and discovering where it could be, which situations would it be helpful. If our minds is focusing on looking for something that we don't have,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard for us to leverage and maximize the things that we have. You understand what I mean? So the mind can only do so much. And so I think what happened here is that you have to let go a little bit on the, hey, I'm looking for something, that you could focus more on asking the question, I'm this kind of a leader. Where can I maximize this more? What opportunities will this be helpful? Right? Without compromising the expectations that is on me as an operations person, right? Trisha, how was this conversation for you?
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much, Coach Val.
Thank you. Thank you so much as well.
Yeah, thank you for both of you. And maybe I kind of repeat Val's question, like, how are you feeling right now, Trisha?
Feeling, well, a bit relieved. At first, I was, of course, nervous with how this is all gonna turn out and what will I be discovering or changing about myself. But it's good to have this like assurance that I have my own set of qualities that I just have to accept and embrace.
Yeah, and you can, you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
I noted down a few quotes during the conversation, and maybe we can look at those. And I think this is exactly like one of the keys that I found interesting. Like at some point, you said, I embrace who I am. And if I look at the evolution of how the conversation went, it seemed to me that in the beginning, you were struggling with having the harmony there in your top five and even seeing it as a source of problems in a way. And that evolved towards accepting and even embracing it as a strength. Would you say that's accurate, or how does that feel?
Well, when I had the harmony as my top three strength, surprise, of course, but it did make sense with how I approach certain situations. So somehow I already accept it, but at the same time, I don't think I am tapping into it so much that it would create lots of benefits. Yeah, at the end, I think I had a clearer picture on what harmony is for me and not in general. So having that specific on how I approach things and not the general definition, I think it helps me accept it more and also utilize it more.
So, taking the report content rather as a prompt than as the truth, and then making it your own so you can really embrace it and live it.
Yeah.
And how about you, Val? How was this kind of conversation typical for a real client conversation you'd have out there, and how was it not?
Very, very typical. As I said, a lot of leaders struggle looking for things about their personality, and they have, for whatever reason, they have this certain idea that I have to be like this in order for me to be a better leader. I have to be like that in order for me to be a better leader. And maybe it's coming from good intentions as well, that they wanted to serve the team, they wanted to, whatever that is. But that's the thing about, and that's the challenge about maximizing one's strength. If the energy of the mind is focused on, I want to have other things that is not, that I cannot see inside of me, then that takes up a lot of space in your mind. And I want this, rather than, I have this, how can I maximize this? How can I be the best leader that I am with this kind of set of strengths, right? And when the person, or when the leader finally embraces that, you know what? I am this kind of leader. And I think I can deliver whatever it is that is expected of me using my own processes, using my own approaches. I think I can do that, right? And that's where the shift comes in. But for now, this session was, this is me. This is my flavor of leadership. And that's pretty powerful. Some people takes years for them to accept their flavor of leadership.
So, this even comes in a way with self compassion, I would say. It prompts self compassion, like all the characteristics that we struggle with. In Trisha's example, the harmony and, oh, maybe I should stand up for myself, like actually also seeing that, oh, that's who I am and that's actually fine. And then maybe it's even a strength and I can use that. That's, yeah, powerful.
Exactly. I love the self-compassion piece. It makes sense a lot in what we do in strengths, and it could be an opening for a person to embrace and later on even celebrate the strengths that you have.
Nice. And if I maybe look at the conversation that you two had now on a meta level, I think I could see four parts. In the beginning, you were looking at the report together. Val, you clarified some terms. You compared it with Trisha's understanding. You pointed out that like the different strengths descriptions are a lot about the combination of strengths. And then at some point, you went into a new phase, and there I saw, in a way, what we in coaching would call the contracting step. You, I think, specifically asked what would make this conversation useful to you, etc.
Yeah, yeah, no, I would say that's pretty accurate. The first part would what we would call in strengths coaching would be naming and a little bit of claiming. So there are three parts in strengths where we would say naming and then aiming, right? So naming is just understanding the language of the reports, getting familiar with the report. Claiming, I don't know if you notice, there's a part also that how has this manifested in your life so far?
Yeah. Yeah, naming and claiming. I like that. And then in phase 3, this was then, I would say, the strengths coaching conversation. And you were curious. You asked Trisha about, can you remember a situation when you were grateful for the strength? And then taking another angle, how does the strengths show in your real life? I think Trisha talked about, yeah, setting realistic goals, also using that in order to watch out for herself. And at some point, another thing that you did and that I noticed, Val, was like this strength spotting. So I think
Yeah,
Trisha would say, yeah, I'm setting only one goal. And you said, look, there's the focus strength. In the way that she was talking and being, you also noticed, look, there we have another one. Isn't that nice? And
right.
bringing again out this appreciative posture and helping also Trisha maybe to have it.
You are absolutely correct with the strength spotting. That's actually a term we use. We spot strengths in the stories of the coachee. And what we found, even in my own team, is that it's such a it's such a great validating feeling that hey, my strengths is quite helpful actually. And it gives things that I do.
If I come now to, I mentioned we have 4 phases, the client to pay attention to their strengths and do that sort of strength spotting exercise for themselves, keeping them in awareness in order to bring them out more.
If there's a specific opportunity or situation where there's a conflict, why don't you take note of how you are responding? And it would allow Trisha to really understand, do I like how I'm responding to conflicts? Because that could go both ways, right? I'm perfectly fine with how I respond to conflicts. Then she comes back to the coaching session like, I've had two conflicts and I was perfectly fine with it. My week went normal and it was all good. Or a point of coaching again would be, you know what? I had these two conflict situations and I really didn't like what happened. And then we could explore that and maybe utilize her strengths again to see where this maybe this content or challenge would be coming from. But more than anything, just making Trisha more mindful again in this kinds of situation that kind of causes her to feel maybe about the harmony or maybe even about the consistency, right?
So what I hear is, in reality, you wouldn't tell her, but you would really take a coaching stance and ask her about specific situations and
Yes.
explore that. Cool. Then I'd be super curious to get your view, both of yours, also now at the MetaFox Strengths Discovery. And what we see here is Trisha's top 5 Gallup. We had the achiever, consistency, harmony, focus, and responsibility. And right here, if you don't mind me sharing, we have Trisha's MetaFox Strengths Discovery report, with the top 5 being organizer, guardian, examiner, finisher, and decision maker. And I'd be curious, Trisha, like, how did the 2 reports feel to you? Where did you see differences? What did they have in common? How was that experience when you reviewed those 2?
I think both has their own facts about me, so I can relate well to both of the reports. I think for this specific one with the Strengths Explorer, I think it's also the same with how I usually have the strengths reports, like or feedbacks. It will often focus on the executing part of my personality or of my approach, and I didn't see any relationship strength here as part of my top 5. So that is one thing that I've noticed initially. But aside from that, I can relate well with all the strengths.
So where in the Clifton Strengths, the harmony came as a surprise, this one was more like, yeah, okay. Yeah, and maybe yet if we go down here a little bit and we look at this more detailed report and your 3 realized strengths, as we call them here, I would say maybe we see a bit of the harmony also in your MetaFox strengths of the Guardian, where we have this fairness being important, loyal, wise. So there I can see a bit the parallels.
Yes, the
Definitely.
fairness part.
Fairness is consistency and harmony kind of combined in a sense. Loyal is, I think it's responsibility, dependable, responsibility, responsible. There you go in the organizer part. Nice. This is nice.
Yeah, and so the approach we take with the strengths discovery is looking at the dimensions of energy, use, and success. So what Trisha was asked here in the survey was about, like, what is it that gives you energy and what do you often do? And this is what came out here for the realized strengths. This is basically what she both often does and what gives her energy. And if we go down the unrealized strengths, that would be what gives her energy, but she's actually not using it that much. So this is how this report, this approach to strengths, it's based on the psychology research of Lindley, approaches that. How does that look like to you, or what comes to mind when you see that, Val?
The unrealized strengths,
Yeah, and also the approach of categorizing them this way.
it feels like an application. And the funny thing about this is that, the top 5 Clifton strengths are not literally the strengths. What the Gallup says that if you apply it in specific situation and it gives you good results and you invest skills and knowledge on it, that is the definition of strengths for Gallup, right? So these 5 things are just your patterns. That's why they call it the Clifton Strengths themes. Normally, themes is how we would um, say and describe these things.
Yeah, and this is also why we categorize them this way, because it makes it also very applicable in the coaching conversation. Because what you can see here is that we say for realized strengths, this is exactly like you said, where a strength can also become a weakness or a theme or a role. We coin them as roles here. If you have too much of that, then it becomes a weakness. And the example we give up here, we say, for example, extreme self-confidence can be perceived as arrogance. And that's where we say, okay, if we categorize them as realized strengths, this is what we can also watch out for. Like, how does it look like when we overuse them? And for the unrealized ones, we look at, okay, how can I actually make more room for this strength? Because that is where basically the risk of overuse is not really there. But here we have like the opposite question of, okay, how can I bring this out more so I can also utilize the energy that it gives me? Okay, thank you so much. Closing this here, what is it that you would recommend any coach, Coach Val, who's curious about now getting started with using strengths in their practice, what would be your advice for them? Where to look, how to get started?
Definitely, if you're looking at strengths, I'm guessing you already took the strengths assessment. But if not, that's definitely something that I would highly recommend. Take it for yourself. In fact, I would encourage anyone who wants to do coaching around strengths to be coached as well. I wouldn't advise this 10 years, 15 years ago, but now that there's just a lot of access to strengths coaches as well, even here in the Philippines, I'd say experiencing become if I apply my strengths. I think that's one good advice. And yeah, you get in touch with us in the Strengths Philippines community. This community, quite recently, we've opened it up to strengths enthusiasts. It doesn't matter if you're a strengths coach already or certified already or not. People are very much welcome to go to Strengths Philippines community. The We have it on Facebook. It's called Clifton Strengths Philippines Network. And whether you're a coach or simply an enthusiast, you're welcome to join us, join in the discussion. From time to time, we would have meetups as well, face to face, and people are free to join to just talk about the topic that we love the most, strengths.
Super cool. So number one, hop into your client's shoes and try strengths for yourself. And number two, find your community. If you are in the Philippines, the Strengths Philippines community. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Trisha.
Thank you, Coach Val and Toby.
That's it for today. I hope this made you curious to get started with your own strengths journey. If you haven't yet any touch point with strengths yet, a super easy and free first step can be the MetaFox Strengths Discovery. Simply go to strengths-discovery.com and take the assessment yourself. Unlike Gallup, we also offer the possibility to invite feedback from people close to you, so you can, for example, compare your own self-perception with how your sister, your friends, or your colleagues see your strengths. And of course, we'll also put the link to the CliftonStrengths in the show notes. The assessment that Trisha took for today's session is $60. And should you be based in the Philippines, I can also only recommend the Strengths Philippines Association, where you can meet Coach Val and also many other super nice people at one of their monthly meetups, even if you aren't a coach yet. That's it from my end today. I'm Toby, co-founder of MetaFox, and I wish you all the best on your own journey of becoming a impactful coach. See you back here in 2 weeks. All the best and bye-bye.